Well, developing news this morning involves the health of North Korean leader Kim Jong-Un. Sunrise foreign editor Dr. Keith Suter joins us now to discuss. Keith, good morning. There are news reports this morning from a Japanese magazine and many others, conflicting reports about whether or not the leader is still alive. Certainly we know he's in a vegetative state. What are the international implications of this?
These are very important developments because, after all, North Korea is now a nuclear power. And so that's our basic worry about North Korea. Who's going to get the nuclear weapons if the country falls into chaos? In the Western world, we have a smooth transition of power, as we see with one prime minister comes and another one goes, etc. That does not happen in a communist dictatorship. So we're going to end up possibly, if this guy is either sick or dead, going to end up with a power vacuum and a scramble for power. The assumption is that his sister, who's the de facto chief of staff for him, will take over. The military may well want to keep her in power, but we just don't know what's going to happen. It makes a very volatile situation at a time we've got so many other worries. And don't forget, this is right on the border of China, which is our major trading partner.
OK, his sister, Kim Yo-jong, we know she's 31. Would the North Koreans accept a woman as leader? I mean, we assume that that's more important to them to keep him in the family than to accept the fact that she's female.
Well, she's the only one that's really available who would be able to take over if you want to keep it in the family. But traditionally, you don't get women running North Korean society. But of course, in Asia, there has now been quite a change, and you do have females in leadership positions. So it's not impossible that she could become the new leader.
Keith, can I ask you about this? It can only be described as madness, I guess, this idea that doctors around the world have found themselves having to encourage people not to inject themselves with disinfectant after the comments we've seen by US President Donald Trump. Surely he can't just laugh these comments off.
That's right. Now, the problem is that he has no reputation at all for humour. He's not a Jerry Seinfeld figure. He's trying to distance himself from what he was saying the day before. His own advisers are now saying, look, this is too risky to have these long media conferences where you're just creating so many errors. They're obviously having to say this very gently, but they're really going to try to restrict the amount of media coverage they're going to give him with these daily media briefings.
I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, to then turn around and just say, yes, I was being sarcastic. Exactly. I think that's the greatest understatement that you've ever given us, Keith, that Donald Trump is no Jerry Seinfeld. Now, moving on, I just want to ask you about Singapore, because it was once praised for its very swift handling of coronavirus. It seems that they've got this second wave, which we've all been so concerned about. What's happening there?
Yeah, so Singapore handled the initial infection very well. It has about 1/3 migrant workers living in overcrowded conditions, and that's where this second infection has taken off. So the authorities are now having to realise that you can't keep people packed together in dormitory accommodation, about 20 to a room. They've got to find a way of social distancing. It's a warning for Australia that we shouldn't boast about how well we're doing, because the virus can still find a way of bouncing back and create problems for us.
Interestingly, that was actually one of the major problems with the Spanish flu epidemic. It was the people in the dormitories in this second wave that turned out to be worse than the first wave. All right, Keith, good to see you as always. Thank you.